There is breaking news this morning out of the Vatican, where tens of thousands of people have gathered overnight to witness the revelation of a new pope. Cardinal Robert Prevost was greeted with jubilation as he walked out to address the crowd. He's taken the name Pope Leo XIV. Interestingly, he is the first American to be elevated to the role leading the Catholic Church.
The 69-year-old was elected on the fourth vote of cardinals in the Sistine Chapel, with crowds in St Peter's Square erupting into cheers as white smoke billowed from the chapel's makeshift chimney. It even startled a nearby seagull. There you go. Our correspondent Elias Clure was there witnessing it all, and he joins us live now. Elias, it must have been quite the day to be there in the Vatican. Take us through what happened.
Well, it was extraordinary, and all eyes have been fixed on the makeshift chimney above the Sistine Chapel for about 2 days. And at 11:51 a.m, this square, 11:51 a.m. local time, this square started to fill with people. They could sense that perhaps there was going to be more smoke billowing out of the chimney. They were right. We saw black smoke, which meant the conclave was to continue, and that the 133 voting cardinals had not reached the two-thirds majority required to elect a pope. And then at about 5 o'clock we saw the square start to fill up again and the excitement build. And almost unexpectedly, out of nowhere, at 6:09 p.m, white smoke rose from the chimney and this square erupted. The noise was extraordinary. People were crying, people were dancing, people were cheering. It was quite the sight to see. Now, at that time, of course, people didn't know who the Pope was, what his name was, who he would be. But, of course, in the Sistine Chapel down below, the 133 men were congratulating Robert Prevost of the United States via Peru, who had been elected the new Pope. He was fitted with his papal robes, he was congratulated. He then entered what is known as the Room of Tears, where they're supposedly supposed to cry to acknowledge the huge weight of responsibility that has been bestowed upon them. Then he was introduced to the crowd by the proto-deacon, who announced those ancient words saying that we have a new pope. And again, this crowd rose and erupted. He then announced his name in Latin, and of course there's not too many people in the world that can still speak that language, so people were starting to try and figure out who it was. And then it went around the crowd that it was an American. And there was almost a gasp when people recognised or realised who it was. But after that, the excitement began to build again. I spoke to some of those people. Here they are.
Kind of feels like we're part of history today.
Yeah. You're an American here to witness an American Pope, hey?
Yep. We're actually just visiting Rome kind of randomly. We were about 45 minutes away and heard the bells and started running. So this is incredible.
Great experience to be here at the very moment it happened. It's terrific.
Did you have a physical reaction when they?
Yeah, we hugged one another immediately. We were on holidays for a few days and we hugged one another and we were...
It's pretty crazy to be here. We're pretty lucky. We study here and we just arrived, so we haven't been waiting for too long, so it was crazy to experience this. I think you don't see it too many times in your life.
No, I guess you don't see that sort of thing too many times in your life. Elias, so what do we know about Pope Leo?
He's 69 years old. He hails from Chicago. I've read that he's a Chicago Cubs fan, so perhaps he likes his baseball and his sport. But he's from the Augustinian side of the church. He's a missionary. He moved to Peru when he was 30 years of age. He then moved back to the United States, and for the last couple of years, he's been seen as a senior figure within the Curia, within the Vatican. He was seen as a close ally of the late Pope Francis, a progressive on some issues, perhaps more conservative on others. But this is seen by Vatican insiders as continuity, perhaps continuing the progressive legacy of Pope Francis. Interestingly, when the College of Cardinals met just before the conclave began, a press release came out of the Vatican which said that the cardinals were eager to continue the reforms promoted by Pope Francis, and perhaps this is a statement by the cardinals that that's indeed what they intended to do.
All right, Elias, thank you for that, and we'll come back to you throughout the morning. We're going to give you some live pictures now of the Vatican, which of course has emptied out substantially since the events earlier today, where, as we saw, tens of thousands of people were waiting there. It had actually been widely tipped that after a couple of rounds of voting, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, a new Pope would be elected, and it was 4 in the end, Catherine.
And it's time to give you credit, which we'll do once an hour, James. That's all I can give you. James Glenday predicted that we would have a new Pope on this morning's show. I just thought I'd put that out there, James.
In fairness, me and every other international booking agents, bet making agency in the world. Not that you should gamble, but you should, look at where people put people's money.
Take the credit, James. OK, US President Donald Trump has offered his congratulations. So let's bring in our America's editor, John Lyons now. Good morning to you, John. How have leaders across the North and, of course, South America too, how have they reacted to this news?
Well, Catherine, it's interesting because 2 countries are claiming the new Pope, of course. The United States hailing it as the first American Pope in history, and Peru. The new Pope does have joint citizenship for both the United States and Peru. Born in Chicago in September 14, 1955. His father was of French and Italian descent, and his mother of Spanish descent. And then his father was a US Navy veteran in World War II. The south side of Chicago, the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, was an altar boy there. He then joined the Augustine Order, and he's the first Augustine Pope. He has spent 11 years or so in Peru in some of the poorer neighbourhoods there, which I think would have appealed to the previous pontiff, because that's the sort of social work that this new Pope and the previous Pope both valued. And so now in the United States, Donald Trump has said it's such an honour to realise that he's the first American Pope. What excitement Donald Trump put on social media, and what a great honour for our country. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. It will be a very meaningful moment. The President of Argentina, and again, this is where South America is now claiming the new Pope, he says the forces of heaven have given their verdict clearly. No more words, Your Honour. Barack Obama he's delighted with the Chicago connection, being, of course, from Chicago himself. Barack Obama has said, Michelle and I send our congratulations to a fellow Chicagoan, His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. This is a historic day for the US, and we will pray for him as he begins the sacred work of leading the Catholic Church and setting an example for so many regardless of faith. Now, it looks like that this new Pope will continue the progressive or left of centre slant of the Vatican, and that became clear, or there were suggestions of that in February this year, when then Cardinal Robert Prevost, the new Pope, put out a statement essentially saying the US Vice President J.D. Vance was wrong. That was significant because the Vice President here, Vance, is a recent convert to Catholicism.
I was shocked, John, when I saw that, because I thought when you got a huge role, like immediately, well, before it's announced, you would delete your Twitter account if you're the new Pope. But there we have it. His X account is still live, which is incredible. What do we know about his life prior to this ascension to the papacy?
Well, we know that he was, born in 1955, an altar boy at a church on the south side of Chicago. He studied a degree of science and mathematics at Villanova University in Pennsylvania in the late 1970s. The new Pope speaks 5 languages, including he can read Latin, and he spent his career in Peru as a minister, as a missionary, and then as Archbishop in Chiclayo in Peru. So a very international background, someone obviously with 5 languages, and I imagine that those skills with languages and clearly his intellectual strength would have helped him. His knowledge of canon law would have helped him in terms of appealing to a lot of the other cardinals in that conclave.
John, thank you so much for your time this morning. No doubt there'll be more reaction in the US to come.